Welcome to The Real Game, a podcast by coaches for coaches. I am your host, Matt Philbrick. Welcome back to this episode of The Real Game. I hope everybody's had a great weekend. It's been a beautiful weekend, actually. We've had a hot streak here of 2 or 3 weeks of really hot weather, and then the last couple of days have been beautiful. So it's been nice to get out and enjoy some of the nicer weather. It's going to get hot again this week, but thankfully we're inside where it's cool. And I am joined tonight by a good friend of mine. His name's Brian. I'll introduce him in a second, but working in the school that I work in, I know I've mentioned a few times that I'm an athletic director at a small private Christian school in southeastern Pennsylvania. I've gotten to know some of the other athletic directors and coaches that I work with and coach against here and there. Brian and I have struck up a pretty good friendship over the last few years. Brian, you are currently at Bethlehem Christian School in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit, Brian, and tell us a little bit about your coaching journey and kind of how you ended up where you're at now, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So my journey is interesting. I played college baseball for 2 years at the University of Valley Forge, and then graduated from UVF, and 9 years later found myself back at the University of Valley Forge. Good friends with John Mack. He was the athletic director there and head basketball coach at Valley Forge for almost 17 years.
Okay.
And he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I remember you. We kept in contact for all those years after, and I've got a position that is open for the sports information director job at the school." And then it turned into the head baseball coach position as well. So I've always loved sports and had a huge heart for teenagers and being around teenagers and just investing into them. And this gave me an opportunity to continue to be around teenagers, but also fulfill that other side of something that I love, which is athletics, which is sports. So the SID, the sports information director role, really opened my eyes to all aspects of college athletics. I learned the ins and outs of college volleyball, college soccer. I can stat a volleyball game just by using keystrokes. It's just a ton of fun. And after 3 years at Valley Forge, I just kind of felt I really wanted to be back in helping teenagers and being around teenagers. So the college kids are great. It's a different animal. Recruiting is a beast at college. And so I really wanted to be around teenagers again. And so just started throwing my name in the hat. And when the time came, I found the position at Bethlehem Christian, and thank you so much to Dr. Hillman and John Wilson and the board there at BCS for taking a flyer on me. And so I just finished my 3rd year at Bethlehem Christian.
Excellent. And I can say firsthand that you're a great guy. You're a hard worker. You've done a great job there at Bethlehem. You've built their sports programs up considerably over the last couple of years. I know when you first started there, the basketball program, and I refer to basketball a lot because it's what I coach, but the basketball program was kind of in the gutter, and they're nothing there right now. They're nothing to be messed with. So the guys are doing a great job. Your coaching staff's doing a good job. So kudos to you for really building things up there. That's great. And I did have, you mentioned John Mack. I don't know if you listened to the episode. I had him on one of my episodes.
Oh, nice.
He was a great guy to have on here. I enjoyed listening to his philosophy. We talked a lot about team culture and the things that he's doing there at Lancaster Bible College. So it was a good episode for sure. So what we're going to do today is focus on coaches and ADs. So you and I, we've been both. I'm currently coaching and athletic director. Are you coaching anything right now?
I am not, no.
Okay, so you're just in the AD role, but you have a ton of coaching experience. Interesting dynamics, because coaches, we don't really like to be told what to do. Like most coaches, they want to just be left alone to coach, to do their thing. Mm-hmm. And then you have athletic directors, and then we're kind of responsible, to oversee that group of people and sometimes tell them what to do or what not to do. And so I'm just kind of interested today in hearing your take on some of that dynamic and how maybe you've made that work. Maybe some do's and maybe even some don't do's at times. Things you've kind of learned along the way. So just kind of to start us off a little bit, in your opinion, what are some of the key responsibilities of coach, and how do they align with the role of the athletic director?
Yeah. So, one of the big things that I stress to my coaches is that this is your team. I'm not running your team. I don't want parents emailing me, hey, is practice canceled tonight? I want you to take responsibility and run your team.
Right.
So, because especially like in the fall when we're getting started and things are getting ramped up, and for ADs, Matt, this, it's chaotic. Mm-hmm. There's so many moving parts, so many moving pieces, from your schedule to your travel schedule to buses to all the transportation issues that we deal with, to canceled games, to rescheduled games. So there's so much that falls on our plate, and that I need my coaches to be able to take responsibility for their team. And so what does that look like? Run your team. Get out practice and game schedules to your parents. Mm-hmm. Yes, we have a website that I keep up with, that, they're able to go on pantherproud.com, see all the schedules right now. Our fall schedules are all up there. Mm-hmm. So they're able to go and see that. But the more we communicate with parents, just the easier it gets. We'll over communicate as much as we can. They'll get the weekly newsletter from our school weekly newsletter. So there's so many different avenues that our parents are hearing when there's games and when there's practices. Right. And it's so important for our coaches to have that relationship with their parents, so that they're able to continue to communicate and answer any questions that they have. And be prepared. I ask my coaches, I'm not coaching for you. I don't have the time to do it. Yep. You have to show up and you have to be prepared. Yep. I don't want to see kids standing around 15 minutes after practice has started. I want to see them warming up. I want to see them getting ready for games. I want to see you going through drills. Whatever you need to do. Do not be late to practice. Show up, be prepared, and have a game plan for what you're going to do that day. I don't want you shooting off the hip. And so, and the other thing is have a travel roster. Know who you're taking to games. Let's not leave any kids behind. Yep. We require that if parents absolutely need to bring kids back with them after a game, we have a rule that all kids must travel to the games with the team. But if parents would like to take their kid home with them after, then that's okay. They just have to communicate 24 hours prior to that game, and then to me and the coaches, so that way it's covered. So sure. As long as my coaches are staying within the parameters of the school mission, of my parameters as well, and they're doing those things, then I really stay out of it. Yeah. I don't talk playing time with coaches for the most part. Maybe if this hasn't happened much, especially, in some of our sports, because we're still launching and we're getting off the ground. But, if we're up big or we're down big, let's get some of those kids some playing experience that would normally get time on the field or court. Right. But for the most part, my coaches do a great job. They know the expectations, and I really try and stay out of the day-to-day stuff that they do.
Yeah. So a couple of things stand out to me that you said. One is, you want to kind of stay out of things and let coaches do what they're supposed to do as long as they're working within the parameters that you give them. And I've talked about that a lot on this show, and that's the topic of leadership, but making sure that they're equipped to handle the job that you give them to do, right? So empowering, give them tools to empower them to be the leaders that you need them to be as coaches. Yeah. And I know you're doing a good job at that. And the other thing is communication. Yeah. Like you said that a couple times. That leads me to my next question. Communication is vital. Communication between coaches and ADs, and then it trickles down coaches to parents, parents to players.
Yeah.
Sometimes the communication lines are coaches, players to parents, right? Because we want players to, especially the older ones, to be responsible and give that information back to their parents sometimes. So how do you establish open lines of communication with your coaches? How do you interact with them? You know, typically how often do you talk to them? Just give us a little insight about that.
Yeah. You know, it depends. Everybody's got a different personality. I have a different personality. You have different personality, you know. And so it's really knowing who you're hiring first. It's vetting the process, knowing the coach, the man or woman that you're bringing into the job. It's having a sense of who they are initially, and then it's fostering a relationship with them. It's getting to know them. Maybe having you know, we're going to have an all coaches meeting in August before we kick everything off. And it's fostering a relationship. It's being available with them. All of my coaches have my cell phone number. Yeah. And so, you know, different personalities with different coaches. For me, I might talk to somebody a whole lot more than somebody else. It depends on, you know, are we in season with them or not?
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I can tell you, like with Matt DeJesus, my men's varsity basketball coach, Matt has the boys playing for the most part almost all summer in summer league. And so, you know, in communicating with Matt, you know, that's almost year round. We're bouncing ideas off each other. We're texting each other, and same with Coach Duff, my girls varsity basketball coach. Yeah. You know,
I'm talking to my coaches to figure out how to beat you guys. So that's what we're doing.
Right. Yeah. We're playing the schedule game already.
That's right. Yep.
So yeah, it's, you know, and that brings up a great point too, Matt. It's you know, my coaching background, I love film. Yeah. I love digging up film. I love watching film. I'll pause it, watch a kid. And Matt and Greg are the same way. And so, you know, we'll watch film together and we're kind of film junkies. You know? You have to love sports to do what we do. Yeah, and you have definitely to love kids to do what we do. You know, if you're in it for any accolades other than seeing your kids grow and succeed, then I think you're doing it for the wrong reasons, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And so, yeah, I mean, as an AD, you have to be available to your coaches. You want your coaches to be the best that they can be. And you have to be available to them and give them resources and give them ideas. And, you know, so
there's in my perspective and take on that is, you know, to your point, you have to be available to your coaches. There's no time that I ever feel like I'm off from fielding questions from my coaches. Like if something pops into the head and they want to text me or email me, I feel like you have to be available all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Right. You know, and I know that's the way I am. If something comes into my mind, I want to ask them about it right away before I forget about it. So that's a good point. It sounds like, communication's important, and just being available to them when they need something, especially during the season. And like you mentioned, for some coaches, I know for me, for a basketball coach and some of my other coaches, we're coaching year round. Like it might not be in season, but once the season's over, you're talking about off-season workouts. You're talking about summer leagues. You're talking about player development. You know, it's like it never ends, man. You know, it's just all the time. So, and I don't mind it. Like I love it. So it keeps me going. So coaches and ADs, we have different perspectives on things, sometimes different priorities. What you might feel passionate about, the coach might not feel passionate about. So sometimes there might be disagreements there. How do you handle that as an athletic director?
Yeah, I think again, it's and that's a great question. Not
to put you on the spot or anything, but you know,
well, you know, again, being a sports junkie and coaching and just being around sports, you know, even at the collegiate level, even though it was Division III, I don't want to take anything away from Division III because it's super competitive. And, congrats again to John Mack for making the NCAA tournament and beating NYU in that first round. That was awesome. In front of K, by the way. I don't know if you caught that.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. His grandson played for NYU.
Okay.
And he was in attendance that day when
fantastic.
When Jordan hit that buzzer beater. Anyway, so back to your question. Sorry.
Yep.
Again, it's tough because as an AD, you want to support your coaches and never tear them down and never make them feel like they're attacked. First of all,
right.
At our level, we're a small Christian school, right? And most of the folks that are coaching for us, this is a very much an opportunity for them to coach, and they love what they do. They're skilled at it. I have great qualified coaches, but I don't even want to say a part-time job for them because the stipend.
No. It's not what they're worth. That's for sure.
That's 100% correct.
Yeah.
And that's not taking anything away from BCS and what we do, because I think we do what we can, and we probably do more than we should.
Yep.
Or, more than we could, I guess. And so we take care of our coaches in that regard, but it's still not enough. And so I want to support them. I never want to attack them. And again, it's knowing the personality of a coach, how to approach that coach and say, hey, have you thought about doing this? Or have you thought about doing that? What about, I noticed that you're running, the motion offense. What about adding this little variant to your offense? Or I think this, tell me if I'm wrong. It's all.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I've learned is it's all how you phrase your questions. It's all how you talk to people, and it's all how it's knowing your coaches again. I can't say that enough.
Yeah.
But you phrase it in a way that makes them think, and it makes them think like, oh, Brian's not sure. He's just asking me a question.
Yeah.
Instead of just coming out and, hey, this person or this kid's playing out of position. Let's consider moving him to defense because he's a terrible striker. It's, hey, have you thought about this scenario?
Yeah. And maybe planting a seed instead of being demanding. Just plant a seed or give them something to think about.
That's right, 100%. Yeah, and it's
something you mentioned a little bit earlier, but kind of ties into this when you talked about hiring the right person for the job. As an athletic director, that's tough sometimes because sometimes you have people that want to do it that aren't the right person.
Sure.
You might have people come and say, hey, I want to coach this team or that team. There's an opening. But deep down, maybe that person's not the best person for the job, so you pass them up for maybe somebody else who that you can work well with, that you mesh with a little bit better philosophically. And I think if you're good at the hiring process, then those confrontations later on won't come as often, and they'll be a lot easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're 100% correct. And, again, it's if a person's interested in the job or interested in being on a coaching staff, then, that could be an opportunity for you to add a talent. Maybe they know the X's and O's. In our case, maybe their faith isn't as strong as you would like for a head coach.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, but maybe there's an opportunity for them to be on the bench or to be an assistant coach, Their job allows them the time to be able to still be around the program. So, in my case, I don't want to turn them completely away, because they still might be able to help your program.
Sure. Yep.
And teach a kid something that maybe the head coach might not be able to. And so,
Yep.
And it's this profession, and just like any other profession. And I don't want to go on a rant about this at all.
or you can if you want, Brian. This is the time.
I mean, it's all about how you talk to people and how you approach people, and just being personable and not being a jerk. I think in society, customer service, and I think we've lost our way as a society in a lot of ways, and and so I just try and be respectful and treat everybody the same way as much as I can, and never just shoot somebody down. If they've got a good heart if they love God, maybe they might not be as strong with X's and O's, but there's still a spot for them. I can find a place for them. And, but at the same time, you're right. We have such a huge responsibility to take care of these kids, to take care of our programs. We can't recruit.
No, you're right.
We're not allowed to recruit.
We shouldn't be. We shouldn't be, right?
That's very true. Yes. Yes. Very true. So, I always ask myself, well, how can I indirectly recruit? I'm not going to have conversations with kids. I'm not going to lure them away from another school because I have higher standards than that, and I'm not going to be one of those schools. But how can I indirectly recruit? And for me, it's having the right people in place. It's having the high quality coaches in place that are going to take care of the kids and build programs. It's making sure that they're resourced, that they have everything that they need to be successful. And marketing. It's putting for me, I'm a Nike guy. I love Nike. I'm not going to put my kids in, and I don't want to talk down to any other schools by any means. That's not what I'm doing. This is just me and my personality. Sure. And the philosophy of BCS is that we want our kids to feel good when they're playing, because if they feel good, if they look good, they're going to play better. And so, I'm not going to put an Allison jersey on my high school varsity basketball team and tell them to go out there.
I see that Nike swoosh on your shirt there.
I am.
Point taken.
I think there's just so many different aspects that I've learned and am still learning, man. I am a sponge, and that's why I love talking to you and other ADs and seeing how they're doing things, and okay, what areas can I improve on? What can we implement, and just continue to grow and get better.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to say a word and then some brief comments after that, and I want you to comment, okay? The word is trust. Okay. All right, trust. How do we, as coaches and AD, so from your perspective as an athletic director, build and maintain trust with your coaching staff?
Yeah. Man. It's just being available. It's answering them questions. It's hearing them. It's when they want to vent, after they've had a tough loss, or the season's not going the greatest,
Right.
Soccer's brand new to us. And we had a rough year last year, to say the least. And that's tough on kids. That's tough on coaches. And they're the ones that are feeling it. And so, to trust, it's to be there for the teams. It's to be there for my coaches. It's to hear them out. It's to let them talk. But it's also kind of sifting through that when they're venting, okay, they're angry right now. They're upset right now. They want to win. They want to be more competitive, and so it's sifting through, okay, how can I help you? How can we improve? Again, it's just being there for them, hearing them, equipping them the best that I can, and making sure that they have the resources that they need, whether it's equipment or video, film time in a classroom with their team. It's hearing them, knowing that I'm going to respond to them, knowing that I'm going to email or text them back. So,
and that's a great point. And I think if I could just add a sliver to that, because I think you're basically saying the same thing, is them knowing that you have their back when that time comes. Like if there's a confrontation, you have their back. You're always going to give them the benefit of the doubt first. When there's an angry parent, you're going to have their back with that. And I think that's huge for coaches. Like coaches just want to know that you support them. And that goes a long ways towards building a trusting relationship between coaches and ADs. Yeah, sure.
When I started at BCS 3 years ago, the mission of the school, they really wanted to build competitive programs. And so they didn't want, just 30 kids on a basketball team. And everybody getting playing time. That's not what they wanted. They wanted to move away from that idea and really make it competitive. And so, well, how do you do that? That means you're going to have to start making cuts. That means that when you have 37th graders come out for the basketball team, we're going to have to make some tough decisions, and there's probably going to be some tears that are going to be shed and some emails that are going to come. And we knew that going into it. And I think the biggest thing, and we've talked about this already, is to communicate with parents. That's coming. So get the word out. Hey, remember, these are tryouts.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to make the team. It's just not happening. Billy might get cut tonight. And if you over communicate prior to, instead of you never want to be reactive, you want to be proactive.
Sure.
And so if you're proactive, you set the tone, then people know the expectations, they know what's coming, and so it won't be a surprise to them. Yeah. Now, what do you do when a parent flips out about playing time?
That never happens.
Oh, no, never. Not even today. You go through the cuts and you still have kids that, they're not skill wise, they're just not quite there, or they're too young to take on, 17 or 18-year-old junior or senior. And so again, it's conversations that have happened prior to the season leading up to it. So then you can go back and say, well, do you remember that email, that I sent out, 2 weeks before the season started? I have handed out different roles to students, to the kids, to the players, so they know what role they're going to play. Hey, I need you to be the best bench player this year that you can be. I need you to soak everything up, take everything in, watch the game, see how the game is played. So then that way, when it's your turn to be called upon, it's the old adage, then when your number is called, you're ready to go. Right. And so it's having those conversations, but then being able to back it up when those parents do want to complain and say, well, we let you know that this is happening. Sure. Here's the email. And so, so it's all about it. You have to be proactive with everything.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned a couple seconds ago, making sure your coaches have the resources that they need to be successful. So you and I both work at, small Christian schools. People think private school and they think money. That's just not the case, right? We don't have dollars just floating around free for us to use on whatever. So what are some things that you're doing to make sure that your coaches have what they need? Maybe not everything that they want, right? Like I want Dr. Dish in my gym. I haven't gotten it yet. I'm working on it, but we at least try to equip our coaches with the things that they need to be successful. So what are some things you're doing to make sure your coaches have what they need?
Yeah, well, first I want a gym.
Big need. That's a big need, right?
It's a big need for us. God is good and he's provided, and we're happy, and we're going to make use of, what he has given us. So we're thankful for that. We're thankful that we have athletics, and it's been a ton of fun. So I get creative. We play in a gym that's 25 minutes north of our school for basketball. It's not ideal, but it's a ton of fun. The atmosphere is incredible.
It is. Yep.
And, I had to go and find a place that had adequate seating so that our fans could be there. And we have 2 scoreboards at this gym now instead of a TV. So,
it's stepping in the right direction for sure.
Yeah. It's being creative within your budget. Again, it's communicating with your head of school, with your school board, saying, hey, this is an idea. My coaches would love it. We would love it. Is this okay? Yeah. As far as other resources, maybe I can't buy you 20 basketballs this year, but I can get you 10. Yep. It's, hey, most of our resources are going to go into uniforms. We're a brand new high school. And so we had to spend a lot of money on uniforms the past 3 years. Yeah. So we're going to have to maybe cut other areas a little short because of spending money on uniforms to make our kids look good and feel good. Right. And so, Amazon's my best friend. I'm looking for deals. I might even look on eBay. I'm a big eBay guy. You have to look around. You get quotes. You never settle for the one bid that you come to. It's you yourself have to be resourceful and go out and find the best deals possible.
Sure. And sometimes you just let people know what you need, right? Like
Yeah.
But sometimes parents will step up and say, hey, I can help with donating soccer balls or donating basketballs, or I can give you, I can sponsor a team for uniforms, or if I own a business, maybe I can help you out that way. Sometimes just getting the need out there allows people to help you out, right?
Yeah, that's such a good point. It's, again, being resourceful. It's contacting your local business. I wouldn't go after, the big chains. I wouldn't go after Buffalo Wild Wings. I wouldn't go after even Chick-fil-A.
Right.
I'm going after those businesses that are represented at the school. Maybe, Billy might have a dad that owns a construction company. Yeah. You reach out to those families who can write that off at the end of the year.
Sure.
And say, hey, would you consider making a $500 donation so that so Billy can have a soccer ball to kick around?
Yeah.
I don't have anybody named Billy that owns a construction company.
But I was going to talk to him after this to see what we could do, but I guess not.
It's things like that. Yeah, you're 100% correct. Knowing your kids, knowing who you have and who you can reach out to, but don't go to that well constantly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, good point. There's people that are willing to help, but if you tap into that too much, you might lose that for good. So that's an excellent point. Well, there's 100 other questions that I could ask you, but I think you've done a great job at kind of explaining your role. I think you're doing a great job there at Bethlehem. I appreciate your philosophy. I know you and I talk a lot. We've been out to eat together. We've spent time together. I know that you are somebody that I would be willing to work side by side with in a long-term basis. And I appreciate the investment that you're making there. It's making a difference at your school, but it's also making a difference in the lives of young people. It's making a difference in our league. It's strengthening our league. So I appreciate that. Keep up the good work there, Brian, and I hope to see a lot more of you in the days to come.
Yeah, Matt, thank you again so much for the opportunity to come on your podcast. I right back at you. I love working with you. And love the camaraderie and the friendship that we have. And we're going to get you this year, though.
Yeah, yeah, let's just leave it at that for now. I see you guys coming up. You're coming up hard in the rearview mirror there. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Real Game. It was a privilege to have my friend Brian on the show with me today. I'd like to leave you today with a quote by Knute Rockne. Knute Rockne was an American football player and a coach at the University of Notre Dame. He led Notre Dame for 13 seasons and accumulated over 100 wins and 3 national championships. He is regarded as one of the greatest coaches in football history. His quote is this: "One man practicing sportsmanship is far better than 50 preaching it. So good luck, coaches, and coach on."